the Warriors are going to be pursuing free agents, and here's part 2. So why don't we get into it? Here we go.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. You can follow Kylen Mills on most social media platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Kylen Mills. You can follow me, Cyrus, Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. Are we ready to get into free agents, Kylen? Is there anything you want to finish up in terms of the Kerr discussion, in terms of anything?
Yes, I have thoughts. Okay, so going into the free agent discussion, this is something that I wanted to mention. I think that Klay Thompson still has a role with this organization if they were to re-sign him moving forward, but he's going to have to take a massive pay cut. That's
Agreed.
The bottom line to me. Like, I could see trading him away, as you mentioned, for a business reason, because you're afraid that, hey, the Warriors don't keep him. He doesn't end up staying after his contract, ends. You want to get something in return. But I think Klay Thompson could still have a role, even if his skills have declined to some extent. Because moving forward, he's still going to have games where he gets hot. He's still going to have games where he does shoot. You mentioned the month of February. Klay Thompson, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he was lights out. He struggled in the playoffs, but it doesn't hurt to have a player like that on your roster. Even if he was at some point in his career coming in off the bench, which, I don't say that to be disrespectful, but it's a possibility. And I know everyone considers Klay Thompson Warriors royalty. He's a legend. He always will be. But hey, at some point in his career, he may have to come off the bench. That just may be what it is. Maybe his skill set does continue to decline. It doesn't hurt to have a shooter. And the older you get, the style of the game that he plays, he could still be effective in knocking down shots and spacing the floor with the way that he plays the game as, one of the most elite 3-point spot-up shooters there is. And so I don't necessarily think the Warriors need to get rid of him even after this contract expires. I just think he is going to have to take a massive pay cut.
Massive.
And the rumors out there, last summer that Klay wanted a max extension. We've heard Draymond wants max extensions. That's just not realistic. With a luxury tax situation the way it is, the Warriors would potentially be $500 million into the luxury tax next season. There's no way. They can't be signing these older guys, these veterans, to max extensions. Yes, they've been important parts of the dynasty run. They're coming up in the twilight of their careers. If the Warriors want to continue to be contenders, they just cannot afford to pay those huge, huge salaries, because we saw this season, the starting five wasn't enough to win a championship. They have to bring in better role players. To do that, they need to free up some money and some, and to cut down a luxury tax bill that currently is in place. So Draymond, I think, will pick up the player option. If they were to re-sign Draymond or Klay Thompson, it's going to have to be huge, huge, huge pay cuts. Would both those guys do that? Would they take pay cuts? We saw Andrew Wiggins do it. Kevon Looney, both absolutely could have gotten more money. But they wanted to keep this as a competitive team, and they ultimately did what was best for the team. So I just want to say kudos to those two, because, Wiggins is an insane bargain for the money he's getting paid based on how big his role was, like last year during the playoffs. And even this year, once he got back, at times he's the Warriors' second best player. So I don't know, though. That's my question is would Draymond and Klay take huge, huge pay cuts to stay on the Warriors and to keep this as a competitive group? Or will I want money and egos get in the way?
Yeah, you said something earlier, which I don't know. I don't know if I agree with, and that's okay, obviously. But I don't know if Draymond's going to opt into that player option. I really don't.
Really?
I think just because I do think he has enough value out to get a deal out there. He's got Clutch as his representation. They're not going to accept. They're always thirsting for the biggest deals. And there's just too many teams out there that I think would do what they can to get him. I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think he's going to opt out. But I also do think the Warriors will present him with some sort of 3-year, $60 million extension. And that will keep him probably, I hope, He also did say if Bob Myers leaves, he doesn't know if he's going to stay.
Right.
A lot of questions. A lot of questions. I want to address a few things in the chat before we jump into free agents. Nick J wrote, any talk about Dante DiVincenzo? No, just because chances are he's gone. I mean, it would shock me if he stays. His player option is for $4 million and change. He probably is going to make a lot more out there, and the Warriors can't offer any more than that. Yeah, so he's probably gone. If that changes, we'll talk about him. But until then, and then Tony G wrote a trade proposal, trade Jordan Poole, Ryan Rollins, and the 19th pick and a second round pick for Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, and Nick Claxton from the Brooklyn Nets. The reason why I haven't brought up the Nets a lot in trade talks is because I spoke to a Nets insider who said the team will not trade Nick Claxton. They view him as part of
I would like Nick Claxton. Like that would be a great addition to the Warriors. Sorry,
I would too. And the moment I heard that, I was like, damn it, because that's like the player I probably want most. I would not mind a Dorian Finney-Smith, but he's making he's scheduled to make $15 million next year. Jordan Poole's closer to 28. So Brooklyn would have to throw in a second piece. If Royce O'Neal's a second piece, I'd be open to that. Would you be open to that? Jordan Poole, Ryan Rollins, and draft picks for Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal. I think it makes the Warriors better short term. Your thoughts? Would you do that?
So you're saying if you took Claxton out of the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would be opposed to it. I definitely think they would get better. I just, man, like of those players, like imagine, Claxton in the Warriors starting lineup at center and Kevon Looney coming off the bench. Like that to me would be, and I've been advocating for size for this team, all year. We both have talked about it since last year, and I like Claxton's game. So I don't know if you take him out of the mix. I don't know. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm with you.
I just don't feel super strongly about it, but
I hear you. Yeah, I don't feel strong about that at all. Jeremy Few writes Chris Mullin or Sean Livingston for next general manager. Chris Mullin already had that role. With mixed results, I don't see him jumping back into that position. He already did it with the Warriors and Kings. Sean Livingston would be interesting, but chances are it's going to be Mike Dunleavy Jr., who has more experience and has already been groomed for that. And then one other. Oh, and I guess this is where we can jump into free agents. And we'll start with Ernie B. Hernandez, who writes Dylan Brooks or Ben Simmons if he's bought out. I have thought about that as well. Every time I bring up Dylan Brooks, I'm met with scorn, disagreement. No one wants Dylan Brooks on the Warriors. I don't blame anyone for saying that. I'm not going to advocate for him. But for a veteran minimum deal, if he behaves himself, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. Your thoughts, Kylen?
I can't. I'm sorry.
I hear you. I get it.
So Dylan Brooks plays really hard. Warriors need defense. That's all well and good, but I could never, ever co-sign on that. Dylan Brooks, I have concerns, is a cancer to any organization. I'm concerned that he brings a level of toxicity. There's a reason why the Memphis Grizzlies said, see you later. We saw the problems he caused for the organization throughout the season. I just think the Warriors have done a good job throughout this dynasty of also bringing in the right character pieces, like bringing in players that also fit the culture. And I just don't see Dylan Brooks is fitting the Warriors culture. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't dislike him aside from all the dirty plays that he makes, but you can make the same argument for Draymond Green. I get it. I just think that culture fit wise, I don't see it happening. Dub Nation would probably, burn at the stake, or I don't know, would storm Chase Center. I can't see anybody being on board with that. So I don't know. I don't think I could. Yeah, no. I hear you.
And again, I'm not advocating for it, but it's a huge
fun to talk about. It's fun to talk about.
Yeah, and it's a huge if. The if being, will he behave himself? If the answer to that question is yes,
I don't trust him that he would. Like, I get what you're saying. If he, swore to turn over a new leaf and be on his best behavior. I don't know about that. Plus, if the Warriors retain Draymond, I just can't even imagine a team with Draymond and Dylan Brooks on the team. It would easily be the most hated NBA team.
That would be a crazy team. That would be a psychotic team.
You got two hotheads that are making all these.
Absolutely. All right. So here are some free agents, and I'm going to just read a bunch of them. I'm going to read all the ones that I consider feasible for a veteran minimum deal. We have not done extensive research on this. This is just day one of exploring this topic, but it's a fun topic because ultimately, again, we've covered this before. And just to rehash real quick, the Golden State Warriors right now find themselves in a position where if they keep everyone, they're going to be approximately $90 million over the $400 million budget that Joe Lacob has publicly said that he wants to spend no more than. So they have to cut salary. I don't know what the hell is going to happen there. I don't know if they're just going to trade Jordan Poole and get nothing back to clear salary. I have no idea. That's one of the many challenges the next GM is going to face, and maybe that's part of the reason why Bob Myers said peace. He doesn't have to deal with that. So with that said, the only way with this new CBA, because the mid-level exception is gone. So the only way the Warriors can get pieces back is through trade or through veteran minimum deals. So here are some players that are out there. These are players that I'm going to present that I think might be a good fit, but I'm going to present it to Kylen, and people in the chat can love it or hate it. Again, I don't believe strongly in any of these. These are just ideas. Kevin Love, who got a DNP in game one. Would you want him on the Warriors, Kylen Mills?
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to Kevin Love. He's a player I actually advocated the Warriors look into, and there were some rumors surrounding that going into the NBA trade deadline this past season. The Warriors need size. They need players who also have size, length, and can stretch the floor with their shooting. Kevin Love can knock down shots. He's in the twilight of his career, but the Warriors don't need major pieces. And, you look at Otto Porter Jr. from last season, or from a season before, I guess last season. Wow, it's crazy that the 2022-23 season is already in the books. But from the 2022 championship run, the Warriors just had a little bit more height and players who could go in and hit a couple threes, space the floor, and help in that regard in the second unit. And to me, like, Kevin Love can still do that at his age. Even, again, a player that we talk about players being in their twilight whose skills maybe have declined a little bit. Like, if he can still hit shots, he could be of use to the Warriors. That's how I see it. What do you think, Cyrus?
No, I agree. But as someone wrote in the chat too, doubtful he's leaving Miami, but part of this could be just a wish list. Two players I'm going to throw out, three players real fast here. Will Barton, Christian Wood, Brooke Lopez. I don't know if Christian Wood will be available for the veteran minimum. I've wanted him on the Warriors for years. I think he would be a fantastic fit. And then Will Barton and Brooke Lopez are in there as well. Any of those players excite you or interest you? Your thoughts?
I think of the three, like, I'm just leaning towards Brooke Lopez. Once again, like, I would love to bring in a center who could score and let Kevon Looney be like that guy who's the rebounder and that just kind of like bangs in the paint and gets messy with the second unit. And Brooke Lopez is still putting up great numbers. I like his game. I think did he average like 16 points per game this season? I think he did, right around there. Yeah. But, you're looking at the size, a guy who, can be a threat on offense, which the Warriors have lacked. Like, they don't have a scoring big on the roster right now because you're looking at Kevon Looney and Draymond Green. And I think it hurts them in certain matchups in the playoffs because, those two don't keep defenses honest. I think it got better when Draymond was on, for example, Anthony Davis, for example, in the Lakers series, because Draymond could come up with the high ball screens and get AD out the paint. But, like, how about getting someone? I think if you're going to add a big, they either have to be a post presence and a player who can score strong inside, or they have to be a big who Kevin Love, whether it's a small forward or a 3 or a 4, whatever, it has to be someone who can hit outside shots. Yeah. So to me, like, those are two, like, necessary things. Brooke Lopez is a player who can bang inside. And so for that reason, I kind of like it. And I just keep thinking back to, the ADs of the world. And now you look at the Denver Nuggets, you're going to have to find a 5 who can compete, and who can play with a Nikola Jokic. And to me, I don't see how the Warriors, if they were stacked up in the postseason against the Nuggets, would have been able to do that. Now that, obviously they did it in 2022 during the playoffs, but now the Nuggets have added Jamal Murray and have added a couple of big pieces. I don't know. I would love to see them bring in a center and
honestly, I do agree with a lot of people in the chat are saying about Brooke that he probably will not be available for the veteran minimum. He probably won't even leave the Bucks. I actually made a mistake there. I didn't mean to say Brooke Lopez. I meant to say Robin Lopez. who has been linked.
I thought I guess I was even thinking of a trade. Okay.
Yeah, Brooke Lopez is not going to be available for the mid. That was my bad. I apologize. I meant
no, not for a minimum. No, God.
No, Robin Lopez though could be. Robin Lopez's value is much less. I would love to see Robin on the Warriors. Honestly, Judith Pierre, who writes Andre Drummond, I've seen you write that a couple times. The Warriors are not going to chase a player like that, though. I mean, if they're not going to bring in if they're going to scoff at DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard, and Andre Drummond's not going to be it. I mean, so that type of player I highly doubt they're going to seek out. They want someone who has some two-way value. When we come back, I'm going to present a player who I think the Warriors have a reasonable shot at getting, despite the fact that he's probably going to command a lot more than the veteran minimum. I think there's a possibility. It's loose, but the hope is there at least. Got to give some love first to Gametime, one of our newer sponsors, but super exciting. Simply because with Gametime, you can find tickets to any event you want to go to, and they offer a low price guarantee. What that means is let's say you buy a ticket from Gametime to a concert you really want to go to, or a sporting event you really want to go to. Then you find seats from another dealer that are in the same row, in the same section, but they're priced at, let's say, half off. Gametime will match the difference. They will give you your money back. And that is literally what a low price guarantee is. And you don't have to plan months in advance for these tickets. You can buy them last minute. They've got resources. They've got supplies. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off whatever tickets you're looking for right now. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Everydayers, I have no idea what's coming up next on the show, but follow us on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. That's where we post all our show times, our upcoming guests. Really quickly, Nick J wrote, and this is something I was going to bring up. Why not bring back Juan Toscano-Anderson and Damien Lee? They were awesome fits for this team 2 years ago. If you're going to run it back and you and the Warriors delusionally think with this team they're going to win a championship next year, at least bring back the players that were a part of it. I have no objection to bringing back Juan Toscano-Anderson and Damien Lee. Kylen, those aren't sexy names. Those aren't names that are flashy in any regard, but I wouldn't mind it. Your thoughts?
I wouldn't mind it either. I mean, I like both JTA and Damien Lee in terms of culture fits. They brought the energy on the bench. It's crazy how big of a difference there was between what seemed like a lot of energy and camaraderie from 2022 or from the 2022 championship run compared to the 2023 Warriors. Like, it just didn't feel the same at all. And those two are a big reason why. Also with Damien Lee, you've got a player, I feel like unfairly took a lot of heat from the fan base, but in general, like, he's a player you could bring in for limited minutes and, he'll hit some shots. Like, yep. Yeah, of course he had a couple, he had some off nights, but in general, he can come in and score a couple buckets lower down in the rotation if you need him. And then Juan Toscano-Anderson, he was also a player to me that you knew what you got. And in terms of the Warriors' struggles this year, it's just too many guys who've been inconsistent. Jordan Poole, far from consistent. In general, their bench play just not consistent. Jonathan Kuminga, even not consistent. And it's like Juan Toscano-Anderson, you're going to get a guy who's going to go in and play, 110%, who's going to play tough defense, who's going to grab some boards, he's going to knock some people around and commit a couple fouls. But again, like, for a lower rotation piece, like, I don't mind that. Same. I don't know. One thing that I wanted to say was Robert Mack had a comment in the live, and also hi to MJ. MJ said, hi, Kylen Mills. Hi, MJ.
What's up?
Robert Mack commented, looking back on the James Wiseman trade and how the season ended, would you two consider the trade a total disaster? I think that's an interesting question. And honestly, yes, I do. I mean, I do. I don't know about you, Cyrus. Yes, but looking back at the 2022 season, I kind of wish that, like, if the Warriors wanted to keep GP2, they should have just paid him and kept him here between the start of this last season and this season. And in general, like where did it end up getting the Warriors? Nowhere.
I don't think this is even like a controversial. I mean,
okay, you don't. That's interesting.
they
No,
blew
I
it.
mean, yeah,
No, they had. You could have gotten
mess.
Gary Payton the second a year ago. I mean, you let Gary Payton the second go for money reasons. You get him back when you never had to lose him in the first place. So I mean, the part of it that is a bungle is that you had the number 2 pick in the draft in 2020. It was a very thin draft, one of the worst drafts in all honesty in recent history. But to just waste it like that, to just squander it and get nothing. I mean, I know technically you got Gary Payton the second back, but that move was supposed to be to win you a world championship. Yeah, you didn't come close. So total bust. No, a horrible move. I don't know if it's even a debate.
Anyways, well, we're in agreement on that. I don't know if it is a debate to anyone. Well, I mean, it's just so crazy because initially when the news broke, people were so excited to get Gary Payton the second back. And then everything changed. We found out he was injured more than we thought. He didn't end up playing, until the postseason. Then even in the postseason, I thought he was inconsistent too. Another player who I thought was, not consistent, not, in the shape that he was or in the form that he was in during the 2022 championship run. So to me, yeah, definitely a bust. I kind of wish the Warriors hadn't given up on James Wiseman just yet. I think he still has potential in the NBA, or at least not given up on him for that reason, because, like they didn't have to give up GP2 in the first place. They did. They brought him back. He was hurt. He wasn't able to contribute this season anyway. So just like kind of a bummer.
Or keep Sadiq Bey, who was part of that trade, and for a brief moment,
yeah,
one of the Warriors. I would not have minded Sadiq Bey on this roster right now.
Same.
You're absolutely right. That was just bungled big time. And to me, when that happened, that was like really where Bob Myers was starting to head out. He was like, "This is a mess. I'm done with this." Absolutely. Here's the trade that I was that I teased before we went to the break, or not trade, a free agent. Stephen Curry's brother, Seth Curry, is an unrestricted free agent. Normally, you would have no chance in hell. He's going to command more than a veteran minimum, but he is Steph's brother. And if there's any player where you can work an under the table deal, I don't know, throw an extra $15 million from Under Armour. Steph, why don't you just give him some money and then get some more for Under Armour? Whatever you can work out, Seth Curry can get the money that he would officially get from a team, from his brother, and still come here for a veteran minimum. You're not breaking rules doing that. There's no rule that says, your sibling can't throw in extra money to entice you to come to a team. So that is my little sneaky hope that Seth Curry somehow comes and reunites with his brother. Any realism to that, Kylen, or am I just totally wishing to the clouds?
I would love Seth Curry, actually. I think that would be a great move. I don't know that I see that happening. However, the Curry family is super close. Like, can you imagine how excited Sonia and Dell would be if their sons were on the same team? Like, I'm just saying, like they, they're that family that tugs at the heartstrings. So that and the Curry brothers have a close relationship. It's something they've talked a lot about. If it were to happen, that would be the only reason why. I don't know. I mean, would Steph be willing to, just hand his brother a couple mil in exchange for him taking a vet minimum to sign with the Warriors? So. I mean, it's an interesting scenario that you're proposing. I don't know that I think it would happen, but I would love Seth Curry. You're looking at another great shooter with Klay, appearing to be past his prime. Why not add another guy who's lights out?
Absolutely.
What were his shooting splits last year? Because he's been close to like 50, 40, 90, hasn't he?
Seth is a solid player. I don't think there's any negative to bringing him in. He's an okay defender. He's not great.
Yeah,
but
I would say that's the thing. Defensively,
he's not a liability either.
No. He's not a Jordan Poole on defense, so I'll say that. And Jordan Poole's like a liability who other teams can headhunt. Like, I don't know.
They got to trade him. They got to trade Poole. Like, the more I think about it, I don't understand how he stays. Anyways, a few more players because we're running out of time here. I didn't realize how long we went. This is one player who I think you could get for the veteran minimum. I think he would be a solid fit for the Warriors. Would love your thoughts, and that's Jay Crowder. Disappointing stint in Milwaukee after he forced his way out of Phoenix. And keep in mind, folks, veteran minimums, you're not gonna hit home runs with these. All right, it's swings and misses. They hit a home run with Otto Porter Jr., Nemanja Bjelica. Those were huge hits. Didn't have that last year. So what are your thoughts on Jay Crowder? I would love him. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I actually would like Jay Crowder too. I think he would be a great pickup on a vet minimum. I mean, strong, physical. We've already addressed the fact that, the Warriors will take all the size and rebounding prowess they can get. And then he can defend, he can grab boards, shoots well, So, I mean, I don't see there being a drawback. I like Jay Crowder on a vet minimum. Like I said, on a vet minimum,
Exactly.
I think that's a good pickup.
Exactly.
Someone just commented, Ernie Chavez says Jay Crowder complains.
Yeah, he has. I mean,
Yeah.
But again, he forced his way out of Phoenix, but hopefully this last year also humbled him a little bit and made him realize, okay, you're not complaining anymore. You're going to be lucky just to get a job at this point. A few people sometimes come to me with Miles Turner saying that's all they need. The reason why I would not ever count on that, besides the fact that he just signed a big extension with the Pacers, is Miles Turner is someone who complains when he doesn't get the ball. And I've never seen the Warriors sign a player, Kelly Oubre is the one exception, and they gave up on that fast, I've never seen the Warriors sign a player with that kind of mentality, with I need the ball in my hands, I need the focus to be on me, and that's who Miles Turner is. Speaking of complaining, he complains if he doesn't get the ball. So that's why I don't ever see that being a realistic possibility. Anyways, yeah, Lloyd T, I do agree. GP2 is possibly a bust. Speaking of the GP2 thing, and how crazy was it that the Warriors accused the Trailblazers of basically medical malpractice and then just decided, no, actually, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about that. We're just going to be like, I never understood what happened there. Do you? Like, they made a big deal about that, I thought, and then just turned out to not be a big deal. And the whole thing was crazy. So
this whole season, man, it's just like it's a wash because it really was such a strange situation. Then after that came out, a lot of people were accusing the Warriors of being frauds and that the Warriors were making false accusations that the Blazers should come back and in turn file a complaint against them. That whole thing was bizarre, but no, there was never any clear explanation given. And I actually spoke with a rep from the Warriors regarding that whole situation who just said, oh, well, it wasn't, the report wasn't true that a complaint was initially filed. We had never formally filed anything.
Right.
We were just looking into it. But dude, that got leaked from somewhere. It was implied in Bob Myers' press conference when he spoke about it. He was just like, all we're going to say is that we want whatever's fair. And, we may or may not he wasn't, he couldn't because he said of the, investigations or whatever was ongoing, go too much into detail, but the whole thing was just weird. And if the Warriors did know how injured Gary Payton II was, why would they have traded for him in the first place? It doesn't make sense. So to me, the Warriors must not have known how bad it was. But did the Blazers conceal anything? What's going on with the steroid? It was all bizarre. At one point, I think GP2's agent came out and said, oh, no, he was never getting... I don't know. It was a hot mess. It was just a hot mess. And it never really came full circle as to why any of that went down the way it did. Then all of a sudden, a month later, oh, just an FYI, the Warriors never filed a complaint and they're not going to, and never mind. And, maybe the Warriors just figured at that point, we think we're going to be able to get him back before the postseason. At this point, it's not worth going through, and then what would the, ultimate punishment be for the Blazers? It's not like the Warriors were going to get money back. It's not like they were going to get anything really from that whole situation. So I don't know. Maybe that was the whole thing was weird. I can't.
I totally agree. Yeah. Real quick before we go, I got to run. I didn't realize what time it is. Jill Espina writes, please develop Patrick Baldwin Jr. into a center. I believe, I don't know if it was Kerr who said it, but
really,
I think Kerr or Meyer said that was never the plan for him, that they see him more as like a stretch 4, a 3, they don't see him as a center, even though he is 6'10". Yeah. So I just wanted
he's just so skinny right now. I couldn't see him banging in the paint because he's still thin. I don't know his exact body weight offhand, but you need to put a little bit of meat on him if he was going to bang in the paint. But I could see him as a stretch 4. I mean, we've talked at length about his pretty shot, his ability to hit from outside. I mean, I think he could be a huge threat for the Warriors in the future because, he could be a floor spacer.
Yeah. And Rich Dub, I really would not mind Scotty Barnes and the Warriors. But the Raptors are very shrewd trade partners. So if you want Scotty Barnes, you're gonna have to give up the house. Jordan Poole will not be enough. And one thing I've learned from throwing out a trade proposal for Karl Anthony Towns a couple weeks ago is that most teams do not value Jordan Poole. Like whatever we see him as in terms of, hey, he gives you salary, he's got star potential. Dude, at least the Timberwolves fan base, they were pooping on that idea in 2 seconds because of Jordan Poole. Dude, this is going to be a crazy offseason. We'll see what happens. Yeah, and Robert Bryant, this is the best case scenario though for Patrick Baldwin Jr., Michael Porter Jr. If he turns into that, the Warriors are stoked, and let's hope that's what happens. What a weapon the Nuggets have. Any final thoughts on the NBA Finals? Let's finish there before we go. Nuggets won Game 1.
Yeah,
is it going to finish
my prediction is that the Nuggets win the series. I think they're the NBA champions, deservedly so. I think they were consistently the best team in the NBA during the regular season. You know, hats off to Jamal Murray and Jokic for finally getting it done. And maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I think the Nuggets are the better team. I think they're going to win it. And by the way, fun fact, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but NBA Finals numbers can considerably down from Game 1 compared to a year ago because, Steph Curry and the Warriors are now on the floor. And granted, you also had the Boston Celtics, who are one of the most storied franchises in the NBA. And you had the two, the storyline in terms of the two dynasties, Dynasty of Old and Dynasty of New, going at it, and a number of other storylines. So there you go. But people watch for Steph Curry, so I could go on about that all day. Game 1 was very meh to me, but I think I think the Nuggets win. What do you think? What's your prediction?
Easily, like a sweep or 5. Yeah. I don't think it's
sweep.
Even Ooh. Might be. They're just such different levels. Like, the Nuggets are good. Congratulations. That was like one of the I missed. I did not think the Nuggets would have won the title this year. I didn't think they were going to be this good. And Bruce Brown was a massive pickup. KCP was a massive pickup. Kudos, congratulations. And they got a healthy. They got a healthy Mike Porter Jr. They're good. They're good. We'll see what happens. And again, that's a team that when you're thinking about the Warriors and their personnel and the roster and how to construct it, you got to construct it to combat the Nuggets. I mean, they're probably going to.
That's what I was talking about. Like, you need to plan for someone to defend Jokic.
And you have no chance in hell right now with this team. So I'm very curious to see what they do. Very curious.
Mm-hmm.
Kylen, always a pleasure. We'll be back at this soon. We'll follow us on Twitter. We'll post it there in terms of when. Any big plans for you this weekend?
No big plans. You said you got to hop off somewhere. I've been working. I got another game to call tomorrow, so I'm about to chill a little bit tonight and do some prep. Where are you running off to?
Go to get a burrito and meet my landlord.
Burrito.
And pay my landlord. I forgot. I'm meeting my landlord right now to pay my rent.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Yeah. Do that. That is important, Cyrus.
Totally by the books transaction. We're meeting in a parking lot each month. I don't know. Is that what you do with your landlord? Do you meet your landlord in a parking lot each month? And
no, I send the money over Sal, you weirdo.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Kylen. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Have a great weekend, everybody.
You too. Bye.